passage of time, we have shared your joy at the birth of your children, and proudly we have watched them grow. We've taken care of your healthcare needs during the good times and the not so good. Your parents and grandparents have depended upon us. Together we have shared the struggles and the wonders of life. At Oktibbeha County Hospital, we are celebrating 30 years of being your lifelong choice in healthcare.
This meeting of the Starkville Board of Alderman will now come to order. Please rise for the saying of the Pledge of Allegiance, to be followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, you have before you a copy of the modified written agenda. Are there any proposed revisions to the agenda as written? Alderman Davis.
Under Mayor's business, I'd like to move item B, Mayor's Youth Council request, to consent.
All right, the proposed revision is to place item 9B, consideration of the request from the Mayor's Youth Council for funds in the amount of $1,340 to support the Summer Youth Employment Program and to allow travel to the Youth Summit in Biloxi, Mississippi on the consent agenda. Is that your proposed revision?
Yes.
Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, please make note that matter has been placed on the consent agenda.
Also, under our under-board business, item B, on consent with Dennis Nordine fulfilling the unexpired term, and John Cartwright fulfilling the unexpired term of the Tree Advisory Board. Nordine for the Board of Adjustment Appeals.
Mayor, I had a question on that.
All right.
That was due to a resignation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is that something we're standard practice to advertise for that position, or do we just?
Mm-hmm. We advertise.
Those positions were advertised for.
Is that our only applicant?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Those are the only two applicants.
Only two applicants.
All right, so the proposed revision from Alderman Dumas is to place item 10B, that is the appointment for the Board of Adjustment and Appeals, who will be Dennis Nordine, and the appointment to the Tree Advisory Board, who will be John Cartwright, on the consent agenda. Alderman Dumas, is that your proposed revision?
It is.
Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, please make note that that matter has been placed on the consent agenda. Further proposed revision.
Also under board business, item E, the resolution requesting that the three-panel judge consider House Amendment 1 to Senate Concurrent Resolution Number 692, adopted April 6, 2011, to the consent agenda.
Alderman Dumas has proposed revising the agenda to place item 10E, a resolution requesting that three-judge panel consider House Amendment 1 to Senate Concurrent Resolution Number 692, adopted April 6, 2011, as substantially improved version of the state reapportionment plan adopted on March 4, 2011 on the consent agenda. Alderman Dumas, is that your proposed revision?
It is.
Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, please make note that that matter has been placed on the consent agenda.
And then under electric department, I'd like to add, do we need to add an item for approval of the contract?
You do.
So I'd like to add number 3 under electric department to include the approval. What else can that fit under there apparently? Except for approved. So we can't put the contract under number 1 basically. We can't do those together? Or does it need to be a separate item altogether?
You can add it to number 1, lowest and best bid, and to approve the contract.
All right, well, I'd like to modify number 1 as request approval of the lowest and best bid and approval of contract for the tree trimming services,
As presented.
as presented.
All right, the proposed revision from Alderman Dumas is to approve of the lowest and best bid for the tree trimming service, which was given by Who's speaking about?
S&S.
S&S Line Services Incorporated.
S&S Line Services and the contract with the lowest and best bidder as presented. Alderman Dumas, is that your proposed revision?
It is.
Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, please make note of the agenda change and the placement of that agenda item on the consent agenda. Further proposed revision.
I got one. I don't want to take up on the board business D. Ms. Brewer, what area are these up on the board business D? I don't want to take it off. I just want to know what area this consists of.
This is West Main, where it flooded that time.
Okay.
Alderman Vaughn, do you have further questions?
No.
Any further proposed revision? Any further proposed revision? Any further proposed revision? Seeing none, a motion to approve the agenda as revised is in order.
So moved.
Motion has been made by Alderman Corey to approve the agenda as revised. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Parker. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. The agenda has been adopted. Next matter for your consideration is the approval of the consent agenda as revised. Is there any objection to the consent agenda as revised? Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, the consent agenda as revised has been approved. You now have before you the consideration of the approval of the minutes from the April 5th, 2011 meeting. Discussion. Alderman Corey.
Mayor, I move approval of the April 5th, 2011 minutes with the corrections provided by the city clerk.
Alderman Corey has made a motion to approve of the minutes from the regular meeting of the Board of Alderman of the City of Starkville held on April 5th, 2011 with the attached corrections as provided that have been reduced to writing. Alderman Corey, is that your motion?
It is.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Vaughn. Alderman Corey, do you wish to speak on the merits?
Thanks.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. The next matter on the agenda is the consideration of the minutes from the April 19, 2011 meeting. Discussion.
Move approval.
Motion has been made by Alderman Dumas to approve of the minutes from the recess meeting of the Board of Alderman of the City of Starkville held on April 19, 2011. Alderman Dumas, is that your motion?
It is.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Vaughn. Alderman Dumas, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. And that will carry us to comments by the mayor and the board. I have a couple of brief comments. One is listed and one is not listed. First, I would like to congratulate two of our police officers on recent accomplishments. Officer Kelly for being recognized as a member of the 200 DUI Club, and Officer Round for being recognized as a member of the 100 DUI Club. We are very thankful for our DUI unit, which does an excellent job keeping our streets safe, and it has been noted on occasions that this community has a higher than average number of DUIs that are issued. What is also noteworthy is, as compared to peer cities, this community has a relatively low alcohol-related accident rate. So this unit does an excellent job preventing catastrophes from happening before they do happen. I would also like to direct everybody's attention to two local relief efforts that are ongoing right now. This community, though it was not directly hit by the storm events of last week as other communities were, is nonetheless touched by the crises that our sister communities find themselves in. And we have local organizations that are working hard to collect supplies, other materials, and donations to aid those around us in need. One is an effort being coordinated by Cadence Bank. You may notice a trailer that's parked in front of Cadence Bank. That is an area where you can drop off supplies or donations for assistance. Also, Southwire has located a trailer in the Walmart parking lot And that is another area that you can donate supplies or other forms of assistance. I would encourage you, if you're so moved, to do so. And that concludes my comments for the evening. We have two scheduled comments from the members of the board. The first is recognition of our Employee of the Month by Alderman Dumas.
Thank you. Glenn Beverly is the City of Starkville Employee of the Month for April 2011. Glenn began his career with the city in 1998 and is the superintendent of the Landscape Division in the Environmental Services Department. Over the years, Glenn has been instrumental in the growth and development of the Landscape Division. Glenn and his crew take pride in the appearance of Starkville and recognize the importance of first impressions. They are always out trimming trees, weeding, and planting flowers to enhance the natural beauty of Starkville. For those of you who are early risers, Glenn doesn't know I've seen him doing this, but you may see Glenn on his morning trash walks downtown picking up any leftover debris from the day before. Glenn is always willing to lend a helping hand and has been involved in helping clean up Brush Arbor Cemetery, another one I'm very interested in and I appreciate. If you need advice on the proper care of plants or making the correct choices in plant materials, Glenn is your man. The City of Starkville is proud to recognize Mr. Glenn Beverly as the Employee of the Month.
Smile.
You're welcome.
Our next scheduled comment from the evening is a comment from Alderman Perkins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To my colleagues, to the members of the staff, and to the public, and to all those others who are assembled here, I have some prepared comments that I would like to make about some school board matters. I have constituents who have expressed grave concerns to me about present matters involving the Starkville School Board and the Starkville School District. The public wants to know what has happened. The public is not confident that the Starkville School Board has given full disclosure as allowed by law regarding the matters that have been the subject of recent news accounts. With so much focus on the importance of the school district to our economic well-being, it is incumbent upon the members of the school board to project the image and create the reality that we adhere to all of the state's requirements for open meetings and open records. Though the concern of the school board toward the sensitivity of the personnel matter is legitimate, it was not good government for the chairman to cite approval of the minutes as the reason not to announce the actions taken at the meeting, even if the totality of the reasons were not addressed explicitly. It would have been much more in keeping with the governing body's charge to provide information that would create a sense of understanding in those who rely on their leadership to keep them informed and knowledgeable regarding issues critical to their interests. In light of the fact that the Starkville Board of Alderman appoints 4 of 5 of the Starkville School Board members, I want to fully ensure that the board operates within the meaning of the law at all times. My concern is based on the fact that as the appointing body for the majority of the board, the controversy stemming from any actions of the school board directly reflects on this city as an extension of its operations, policies, and the conduct of its business. From the dissension over the decision regarding uniforms to the significance of the mayor's decision to veto the school board appointment, any issues that cause discord within the community about the effectiveness and operation of our school system must be minimized and handled with great sensitivity. Hopefully, any recent actions that have been taken by the board is not an attempt by the board, individually or collectively, to micromanage the day-to-day operations of the Starkville School District. Since I do not know what the issues are, it causes me to wonder if the board has been either oblivious to the problems up until now, or if they have been ignoring them until they had no other choice but to act so close to the end of the school year. Such a precipitous act calls into question their judgment and knowledge of the pulse of the school district. I would expect that they would have worked to mitigate the problems before they reach such a level of criticality for the school district that such a disruptive decision would have to be made at a time and in the manner it was rendered. For future references, as an attorney and as a member of the Board of Alderman, it is my legal opinion that any and all decisions made by the Starkville School Board in executive session should be announced to the public immediately when the board returns to open session at the same meeting and not thereafter. This is what the law in Mississippi requires. The board should fully comply with the law at all times. The Starkville School Board needs to be as transparent and open as possible to the community within the spirit and meaning of the law. If the public is without knowledge, they must operate in a vacuum. Speculation and conjecture are what you are left with when you are operating from the position of ignorance and misinformation. Openness and accountability are the watchwords for a public body. In closing, I publicly concur with the editorial article that appeared in the Starkville Daily News on Friday, April 29 of 2011. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Do we have any further comments? Alderman Dumas.
I'm going to follow in the same vein as Alderman Perkins. It's the first time I've prepared a written statement, so yeah, bear with me. This administration has been in office for 672 days. I take very seriously the work that has happened since that time and feel confident that this city is a better place for the work that has transpired. The stated platform on my campaign card was simply quality of life, under which was listed smart growth, improved local and regional partnerships, and increased diversity and access to live, work, and play options. However, the first item listed under quality of life was improved public schools, and this was indeed specific and intentional, regardless of realizing that the only thing that I would be capable of doing from this seat is interview and appoint members to the school board. Obviously a noble task, but one that respects the sovereignty of the Starkville School District. Regretfully, because of the fact that my wife is employed as a teacher at the Starkville or the Ward Stewart Elementary, I don't regret the fact I'm married to her, I love her. I regret the state attorney's opinion. It is the recommendation by the state attorney general that I not vote on matters pertaining to the school board, including trustee appointments, because of the perceived advantage that action may place on her employment. I respect that opinion. But the fact remains that I'm an elected official with the city of Starkville, and even more importantly, a proud father of 4 children, all of which currently go to the Starkville Public School District. Because of this, I will not keep my voice quiet on my concerns for the Starkville Public School District. As an elected official, I understand and appreciate the processes afforded to a public board to discuss matters dealing with personnel, litigation, and land acquisition in executive session. However, as a concerned citizen, I do not like the misuse of this power to further distance the issue to hands from a concerned citizenry, much less when these issues relate to the safety and education of my children. As the city grows and hopefully prospers, we must have leadership in places that make the processes and issues more transparent, not harder to see. We must have leadership in these places that are willing to meet challenges head on, not sidestep the issue in order to cover it up or hope that it takes care of itself. The challenges of this city and school district are real, and we must have a school system that can meet the challenges and provide the necessary education system for the largest majority who demand a good quality educational experience and environment for their children. Whether the issue be discipline, the fact that the only decent meal that some kids get during the week is at school, or the fact that the federal government is mandating requirements that are far out of tune with our local environment, we all must accept these as realities, and all must find a way to excel in the system. I am a huge advocate for public education. I will sacrifice myself to make sure that the Starkville Public School District is one that is emulated, an example of a great educational system, and a shining star in our economic development toolbox. But I will never sacrifice my children's education for a system that isn't meeting the demands, for a system that is questioned, and for a system that hides behind the veil of secrecy instead of meeting the challenges head on in the interest of my children, my wife, and the community that we all love. This community deserves and demands better representation of communication. I've reduced this to writing and have produced it.
Are there any further comments by the members of the board? Alderman Carver.
I didn't write mine down, but twofold. One was to touch on what the mayor said with these storms, and just to give also thanks to all the faith-based institutions and organizations that have gone out and having been there and worked. It's not just Starkville, it's all the communities in this state and different parts of the state that have come in and just helped each other. So thanks everybody, and thank you the people that in Starkville who have helped with that. And second was, and make sure I say her name right, Ms. Linda Southward, and she did an excellent job. I was reading through the application today that herself, and you may want to touch on this, a group of individuals turned in for the City of Starkville Healthy Hometown Award, and I was just thoroughly impressed with the application that she did, and wanted to make sure and thank everybody that helped on that application.
Allison Cargis deserves a great deal of credit too. They worked in tandem getting that one ready.
Excellent.
Further comments? Do we have any further comments? Any further comments by the members of the board? Any further comments? Seeing none, we'll move to citizen comments. And at this time, any citizen wishing to make comments this evening may do so by coming forward, introducing yourself, and you'll be recognized to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes.
Good evening to the mayor and board. My name is Al Turner, Ward 7. Want to recognize the Vice Mayor, Senator Sid Trump, and the Alderman Vaughn.
Thank you, Albert.
Citizens have a few concerns. We never thought that we'd have blackout. Traffic lights, everything out. We would like to know how many backup generators do we have? We were frightened when they said that we'll be out of life for 3 days. But hopefully we woken up to electric light. We need to have a way of, if we have a blackout, the way that we can protect ourselves. We also concerned about the dangers of West Main and flooding water, and also the caving in of the business on 182.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Further citizen comment?
Do you sit or stand?
You can do either.
Okay. My name is Frank Childs, and I'm in Alderman Carver's district of the city. I want to congratulate Alderman Perkins and Alderman Dumas and Alderman Carver for their comments regarding the school board action as of lately. I concur with the editorial that was in the Starkville Daily News. I'm very disappointed in the board and the actions that they took. I think that this has put a black eye on the city of Starkville, on the Starkville Public Schools. I think it's going to be difficult to get another superintendent to come in when you have situations like that. You're the only people that I know that can change this because of the fact that you appoint these people to serve on our board for the Starkville Public Schools. I served as the co-chair for the 1985 school bond issue. I served on the 1995 school co-chaired on that particular school bond issue. So I love public education. I know you love public education too, because you're working for the public right here. And we have to stand behind you as we go forward. Public education is so vitally important to our community. This is something that without good public education, our whole community does not go forward. I used the term one time that the union card for the future is going to be your educational level, because you're not competing against the person next to you in the desk. You're not competing against the district next to you. You're competing against the world. And we have to have a world-class education system here. And right now, I just don't have the trust in our school board members that I once had after seeing the way they operated this way. I want to commend y'all who spoke on this thing. I've talked to two of our aldermen, and I've talked to you, Mr. Mayor, and I'm very serious about this thing because this is important.
Thank you, Mr. Childs.
Thank you.
Do we have any further citizen comments? Any further citizen comments? Any further citizen comments? Seeing none, we'll move to public appearances, and we have two scheduled public appearances tonight. The first is a presentation from the Mayor's Youth Council. Your agenda item's been approved, but I know the board would still like to hear an update on your progress. And I want to take a moment to brag on y'all a little bit before you come up. This group has recently been awarded a $3,000 grant for a program they're going to tell you about in a second by the Appalachian Regional Commission. What they may or may not tell you is they went to make a presentation in the grant competition, and they were the only youth team that made a presentation. All of the other teams that were vying for this grant opportunity were adult teams. And I can't tell you, from TVA officials down through our sponsors at the city level, how much everybody bragged on the presentations that were made. Apparently, our group was the talk of the entire program, so I thought that was worth noting. Now, y'all come forward for your presentation, and you'll have a maximum of 10 minutes.
Good afternoon. My name is Larry Avent, and first of all, I want to thank the Board of Alderman for letting us have a Mayor Youth Council. And the purpose of the Mayor Youth Council is to provide youth organization, productive community projects, and promoting engagement in government affairs and acting as resource for the City of Starkville organization upon request. The council consists of a group of students from 9th through 12th graders who resides in the City of Starkville and attend various
and we would also like to invite y'all to our first major fundraiser, which is the Mayor Council banquet, and the date would be May 20th at 7 o'clock at the club level of Mississippi State University. And the purpose of this event is to showcase the Starkville's Mayor Youth Council and the city's effort to shed positive light on the youth in the community. And one ticket will be sold for $25 and a table for $200. Oh, and there should be invitations in your box if you haven't gotten them yet.
Hello, I'm Kayla Outlaw, and I'll be talking about the grant and what the YES project is all about. Okay, it is increase the number of youth with employability skills training, the number of people with new job skills, increase the number of jobs created for young people, community members volunteering their time for the good of the community. And we have some milestones in this project that we like to cover. Recruitment, we already have 120 youth recruited. Enrollment and eligibility, 100 youth will be eligible to enroll. Business recruitment, identify 50 businesses. We have 150. And workshop, 40 youth will successfully complete 40 hours of training. The steps in which this process goes, you have job shadowing experience. 40 youth will complete 60 hours of internship. You have community service. 40 youth will, ages 14 and up, will complete 20 hours of volunteer hours and employment opportunities. 15 youth, ages 16 and up, will complete up to 240 hours of work experience.
Okay, the Youth Employment Services, which stands for YES, is a project led by the Mayor Youth Council serving youth age of 14 to 21. The goal of YES is to enhance the educational opportunities for Starkville youth by providing work readiness training, job shadowing, and job place assistance. YES will expose youth to the people of high demand, living wage jobs, and jobs through education and work experience. NYC is partnering with East Mississippi Community College, the City of Starkville, Mississippi State University, Starkville Parks and Recreation, Boys and Girls Club, Youth Technical Authority, and other local organizations and businesses to assist with various programs and services. NYC was awarded $3,000 from the grant of MAR, Mississippi Appalachian Regional Commission. We're requesting $1,340 from the City of Starkville Board of Alderman to assist the implementation of the YES project and traveling and lodging for the 10 youth to attend the MML Youth Track Annual Summit Conference in Biloxi, Mississippi.
That's it.
Do we have any questions or comments from the members of the board?
Congratulations on your grant.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments?
Very proud of them and the hard work they contributed to make Starkville a better place for the youth.
And they also just recently, hello, I'm Stephanie Schaffer, I'm the project coordinator for Mayor's Youth Council. They also just recently completed a project with the Cotton District Art Festival. They did event management for that on Friday night. They were responsible for the Friday night bandstand. They coordinated the pet parade and the Easter parade. And they were really out marketing and talking about what they plan to do to improve the services for youth here in the city of Starkville. So very proud of them. They've all done a great job this year. We're looking forward to the next year as well.
Well, and Stephanie has done a fantastic job herself. Stephanie has stepped in as a volunteer, but she probably puts in at least 10 hours of work a week, coordinating the Mayor's Youth Council program. So for the program to be as far along as it is in the first year, we owed a debt of gratitude to Stephanie. Further questions or comments by the members of the board? Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, thank y'all.
Congratulations.
Our next public appearance is by Silas Cragen Knox for an Eagle Scout project placing reflectors identifying fire hydrants in areas of the city, and Chief Mann is going to assist him with his presentation.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Board. It's my pleasure to sit beside this young man tonight and assist him in presenting this project because this project is going to be very beneficial to our department in helping us identify hydrants in many dimly lit areas in the city. Silas come to me about a month ago and wanted to check in on this and see if he could do this. And I thought it was a great thing, and he's gotten on the board and wants to present it to you tonight.
All right. I'm Silas Knox, as Chief Mann said. This project kind of hits it home to me because when I first came here, my one of the older scouts in the troop started this project, but it's a pretty big project to put reflective markers beside every fire hydrant in the city. So when I realized that some of his markers were like not staying, or there weren't markers throughout the entire city, it became kind of inspiration for me to continue the project in other parts of the city that needed it. Now, the project will consist of probably 79, I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
79 of these markers in 5 different subdivisions along South Montgomery and the high school area.
Those subdivisions are Pleasant Acres, Meadowview, Timber Cove, Sherwood Forest, and Colonial Peaks.
The funding for my project is going to be all fundraisers that I'll conduct with fellow scouts that will volunteer their help for my project.
Are there any questions or comments from the members of the board?
I'd say thank you, Sila, for stepping up and doing this, and I look forward. Is this, Chief, is this like something reflective just for night, or is it placed on the top, or where? How do you mark?
It's placed on the asphalt, and it reflects off the headlights at night. It'll be a blue reflector.
It'll be in the crown of the road, in the middle of the road?
It'll be just to the right side of the stripe line.
Yeah, thank you very much for taking on this project.
Are there any further questions or comments by the members of the board? Any further questions or comments? Well, Silas, we certainly appreciate the work you're doing and look forward to noticing the results.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time.
We have no public hearing scheduled for this evening, so that will carry us to mayor's business. And the only item remaining that has not been previously placed on the consent agenda is the consideration of the appointment for a committee on redistricting locally. And we took up a resolution on consent that deals with the still lingering issue of statewide redistricting. This is shifting focus to our own city redistricting effort. And I had initially put this on the agenda as creating a committee. However, to open the discussion, I will say that in hearing from different board members, it seems like there may be such wide interest in this topic that this might be something that the board might consider handling by committee of the whole, or the entire board just meeting in a series of work sessions to do it. But I'll leave that up to y'all. Discussion.
Do we have a set date as far as a deadline?
No, and Marquita, I'll get you to elaborate on what the parameters that are set by statute.
Well, I mean, as long as we have a redistricting plan done before the election, our election. Yeah, that's what we're looking for. I think we're just trying to get in place here a committee.
So that's before qualification.
Right.
But the direct answer is you have a very pressing deadline by statute if you happen to fall in an election year. When the census returns come back, that's why at the state and county level, it's been such a pressing issue, because they have to get everything settled for a November election. Since the next municipal elections are not until 2013, we're not under the same timeline.
Is all the city data needed to make the decisions available at this time? Because I know there's a lag time between the scale at which we need information at the city level from what's initially presented from the census at the county level. Is all that available?
That's a question that's beyond my expertise. I don't know if that's a Marquita question or if it's a Ben question.
Alderman Dewis, are you referring to the census tract data?
The census tract demographic data. That,
when they release it in.
They stagger it.
They stagger it.
Right.
That's right. And probably at this point, we're already looking for block data, and I've not received the schedule when that's to be released, unless Ms. Outlaw has, or
No, I have
maybe
not.
someone at the county, maybe at the county office has, because a lot of times that'll go to the counties first. I've not received or seen anything about that schedule, that release schedule yet.
And I think the committee, though, is just for, when that information gets in, the committee will already be formed.
Further discussion. Alderman Sistrunk.
I agree, this is of vital importance to the community and to each of the board members, and if there's not further discussion, I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to move that we appoint a committee of the whole, along with the city clerk, the chairman of the Municipal Elections Commission, the chief administrative officer, and the mayor. And I may want to amend that. Do we have the budget to have the?
One thing to consider with respect to members of the Municipal Elections Committee is my understanding is those are paid positions and any amount of time expended by those members are to be compensated.
Did we budget for that?
No, we did not.
Okay, then a committee, my motion would like to be the committee of the whole, the city clerk, the chief administrative officer, and the mayor.
Miss Mayor.
Hold on one second. Let's get through the motion. Alderman Sistrunk has made a motion to appoint a redistricting committee for the City of Starkville redistricting to consist of a committee of the whole, including all members of the Board of Alderman, the mayor, the city clerk, and the chief administrative officer. Alderman Sistrunk, was that your motion?
Yes.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Dumas. Alderman Sistrunk, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No.
Any discussion? Alderman Perkins.
Mr. Mayor, certainly the city is moving in the right direction to appoint a committee tonight for redistricting purposes. With all due respect to our two distinguished staff members, Ms. Lance Brewer, who I have a lot of confidence in, and Ms. Allow City Clerk, I must respectfully say that I do not think that they should be a member of the committee. They can be their staff support. You know, this committee has a lot of assignment, and I don't think that they should be a voting member of a redistricting committee. I'm not in support of the motion as it is. The last time we had redistricting, of course, we didn't have a chief administrative officer at that time. We had the chief administrative officer to come in 2005. The last time we had redistricting, that was during the 2001 to 2005 term when Mr. McLaurin chaired it, Alderman Beck from Ward 4, myself, and then Mayor Rutledge. But and I don't have any issue with these two individuals, but just a housekeeping matter. It's nothing I'm going to put up an strenuous objection to, but I just for that reason I can support the motion. Nothing controversial, but I think that staff don't need to be involved in no redistricting other than just be there just to support us when we need it. So for those reasons, I cannot support the motion as it stands, but I don't have no objection to the board and the mayor as a whole being comprised in the redistricting committee. But no disrespect, Lynn and Marquita are very capable, but they just don't need to be no part of the voting process. Politics and other factors get involved, and we don't need staff in the middle of that.
Further discussion.
The way the motion is written now, would the city clerk and the chief administrative officer be ex officio, or would they be voting members?
Well, it's not clear, and you may want to clarify that.
The motion does not say that. The motion makes them members. The ex officio, I have no problem, but the motion makes them, along with us, they can vote according to the motion.
May I amend my motion?
You may.
To make the city clerk and the chief administrative officer ex officio members.
And since Alderman Sistrunk is the author of the main motion, I'm going to take that one without objection. Is there any objection to Alderman Sistrunk amending our own motion to make the chief administrative officer and the city clerk ex officios? Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, we'll now move back into discussion on the main motion as amended. Discussion. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Alderman Sistrunk's motion, please respond by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. And that will carry us to board business. And the first and only matter of board business before us tonight is a presentation from the Municipal Complex Committee. And I want to take a moment before I turn it over to Dr. Ruby to brag on this group. Back in September, the board, through the board committee on municipal facilities, appointed a citizens committee to conduct a feasibility study and to determine first whether there was a need for additional municipal facilities for the city, and in the event that there was a need, to determine to make a recommendation to the board as to how best proceed on that matter. This committee has met bi-monthly and very diligently worked to build a consensus. And with that said, I'm going to let Dr. Ruby talk a little bit about their efforts and where they are.
Let me first of all assure the board that the work of this committee has been open and transparent. The committee we believe, have done what you asked us to do, and it's been an excellent committee. Several of the members are here tonight that I'd like to ask them to raise their hand or stand up or something. Robbie Koblenz and Frank Childs and Bill Webb and Emil Lovely and Nick Wilson are all here. And those that are not here, I still want the board to understand that the recommendation is unanimous. The recommendation that we're going to making tonight is unanimous. As he said, we started work in early September, met twice a month through the end of April, and we have come up with a recommendation that we believe we had basically two sort of internal goals. One was to recommend facilities that would meet the needs of City Hall and the Police Department and City Court for the next 20 years, and to do that in a way that was very fiscally responsible, that was economical, that would let the citizens of this town know that we were not trying to recommend any sort of Taj Mahal, but we're recommending facilities that were adequate, but within the reasonable limits of fiscal responsibility. I will not go in further except to very quickly tell you what we recommended. It's no secret. This is pretty much out now. But we're recommending that the current City Hall, the old National Guard building, be renovated to accommodate the needs of City Hall and the City Court. We believe the building to be very, very substantial. We believe that it could lend itself very well to renovation, and that would, because there are no weight-bearing walls inside. We think the building is completely sturdy, and that would be much more economical than to go out and build a new facility. In this building, it would accommodate City Court, the Building Department, the Personnel Office, the Public Service Director, and the City Engineer. Would not have quite enough square footage to accommodate the Mayor's Office and the City Clerk, and an addition would be added on the western side of this facility in the parking lot that currently is for the police cars. That's the basic recommendation for those entities. Then we would recommend that the Police Department move to a facility that we would recommend on the northwest corner of North Jackson and Highway 182 on property that is for sale. There are 3 parcels along there. We recommend the corner. However, if it was very financially advantageous to put it on one of the other 2 properties that are for sale, then we would certainly go with that, except if that's not the case, we certainly recommend the corner of North Jackson and 182. In a minute, Gary Schaefer, the consultant or architect, will give you some more details about the recommendation. We believe that this concludes the work of the committee, and I suggest to you that the committee has done what I think you asked us to do. Mr. Mayor, that's what I have to say. Are there any questions before Gary talks a little more about some of the details?
Dr. Schaefer is going to make a more detailed presentation as to how this would all work. But prior to doing that, do we have any questions or comments from the members of the board for Dr. Ruby on the committee's process and their recommendation?
One thing I didn't say that I want you to understand, that we made every effort to get citizen input. We know that this project has to have widespread citizen input. We made every effort to get it. We had open houses with the opportunity for written input. We had all of our meetings were open except for those that had to do with the purchase of property. And we individual members of the committee met with citizens groups as requested. So we made an effort to get citizen input.
And it was neat for me to watch this group come together because there were many differing opinions from the start as to how the best way to proceed on this project would function. And over time, as they studied it, as you'll see in your review a second, I think it became clear to the members of the committee that they had a unified course. And I'm very thankful that they were able to do that. Further questions or comments by the members of the board?
Before we get to the technical presentation, I'd like to thank the committee for your time. I know this is a labor of love as much as anything else, and we appreciate what you've done for our community very much.
Thank you very much. The committee, the attendance was always great. The committee was absolutely committed to trying to respond to the assignment given.
We appreciate it.
And I think the fact that you've come together with a unanimous approval, considering some of the personalities I know on that committee, which were there intentionally, I think it's been a testament to y'all's process, so I appreciate that.
And that has nothing to do with the fact some of them are not here tonight.
All right, I think we're ready for Gary's presentation.
A little history. Mr. Perkins and I were younger men when we started this project.
Yes, sir.
Somehow 10 years have slipped by, and this is actually the fourth version of the study. We are working with the third city administration in the last 10 years on this project. Many of you have been involved along the way. The previous three studies looked at three different sites. Option one was the Highway 25 bypass. Option two, the second project we looked at, was on Block 18A. And option three was a two different site option, the former Millsaps car dealership and the former bus terminal, which is now where your electric department building. The committee started also with the program, the needs assessment that was produced by Brinkley Sargent. The original needs assessment was for the police and courts. And then our firm produced a needs assessment working with everyone in City Hall. The nice thing about this program is easy to remember. Police, 30,000 square feet, City Hall, 20,000 square feet, courts, 10,000 square feet. Anybody asks you 3, 2, 1, you just have to remember the colors, and that's the size. So we were looking at these functions, and we reviewed every site that was previously looked at in the other three studies, and a number of other sites were added on this study. We looked at a Curry Street option, a Reed Road option, the Templeton, former Templeton car dealership, and even the Kia building option, which I don't think it ever made it to Kia, but those were some of the sites that we looked at. As Dr. Ruby pointed out, the recommendation is for the City Hall and Municipal Court to go on the existing site where we are sitting. And this site is the building and the adjacent parking lot. The recommendation would be that we would develop the existing building into the court facility. we would add an addition, a two-story addition to the west where the parking lot currently is. And that would basically be the entrance to the city hall. And then we would develop a good walkway between here and the parking lot that is to the east, that is currently there, and suggest renovating and improving that parking lot, but more importantly, getting the ADA access between that lot and this building.
That's going to pertain to one of my questions later. Which parking lot are you talking about?
The parking lot that's behind Sullivan's and beside the farmer's market.
So is that where the city employees and city business?
Well, I'm not sure we would dictate who would park in there, but we would certainly say that would be our closest city-owned parking lot to City Hall.
Okay, thank you.
We would also recommend, fortunately, we have the original drawings from this building. It was a gorgeous building when it was done, and as all of us age, we've gotten a little rougher around the edges, but I believe this building, the original qualities could be brought out in the building. And as it was, of course, originally a large open space where we are. When you're up in the attic, you can see the original structural system is all still there, the walls are there, and this was one large open space. It's hard to kind of conceive that now with this little sort of nest of walkways that we have to go through. What we're recommending is that in the top left, number one would be the new court location. We're suggesting that we would slide this space over, put it directly on access from the front door, and open it all the way up to the ceiling. The problem with this space is too small and it's really too short. And so we would make that the focus of this building. On the left would be the court administration, on the right would be the court lobby, and in the green would be the judge and prosecutor would have a safe and secure entrance from the back in and out of the building. And the public would come in the front. We're recommending that it appears that this level and the sidewalk level are actually the same level. So we would hope that we could just open that up so you don't have to go up to get down. Then on the left, in the purple, number 5, would be the addition, which would have City Hall on a first and second floor. Now, the building has multiple levels currently, so the top right, the area where the police and city clerk currently are, would start to become the building department. Then we would propose a second level on the bottom left, and that would be the remaining space minus our beautiful court space that would go up through the middle of the building. And the second floor of the City Hall would be connected to the additional space needed by the building department and other functions. And the remaining space, that top space where the building department currently is, would still be used and renovated, and all those spaces would now be connected with elevators and lifts. So every part of this building would be 100% accessible. So the building is in good shape structurally, but it really needs a total sort of gutting and new mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and being brought up to code and fire systems and everything. But it's the most cost-effective way to use the space that we currently own. Suggestion would be that we would start to take some of the clues from the existing building and add it to this new building on the corner so that they would be compatible and not look like it was an addition that was done out of character with the existing building. The second part of the recommendation is the police facility. Again, as Dr. Ruby said, on North Jackson and Highway 182, the land is currently for sale as 3 parcels of property, sort of square parcels going from east to west. And our recommendation is that the police facility will work on 2 of the 3 parcels. And the suggestion would be that the public parking would be on the east side and move away from the intersection, but the building would then sit and face the intersection and be facing both North Jackson and Highway 82. addressing that corner as a major intersection in the city. The most important aspect of this facility is being able to separate the parking, and so to the west, the secure parking could occur. All of the police vehicles and staff would park on the west side, and the police would still, through the Sally Port on the north, have the ability to exit the building on 2 streets, which is extremely important, but we would be able to have the separation from public and secure parking. The building would sit into a hill. Currently, the site goes up from east to west, so the parking on the west would be at the 2nd level. The parking at the east would be at the 1st level. That courtyard in the front would also allow for future expansion. So if after 20 years we needed additional space, we have enough room on that site for additional space. The idea would be that the corner would really establish an image.
Again, thank you for doing this. I like this presentation. And this may not be a question directly for y'all more than maybe the mayor, but this would require a tiered approach to construction, right? I mean, you'd have to do the police station before you can move the police station out.
The most logical way to do it would be to build police first, to give you some additional space to relocate everybody in City Hall while this facility is going to be renovated, because obviously people can't work in here while most of the renovation is going on.
I guess that's back to what my question is. Y'all's recommendation is to literally gut this building except for the 4 walls, and then to make it ADA compliant, to have the elevator, and so this facility would be totally vacated, right?
It would, except what could happen is the police facility would be built first, and everybody would stay where they are until that was done. Then the police would move to that facility. You would then be able to actually build the addition to this building while everybody stayed where they were. That addition could get constructed and completed. Then we feel there's enough space with that addition, with a little bit of additional space in the police, I understand a little bit of additional space in the electric department, and if necessary, we still have the old electric department. We feel like there's enough city-owned space to move the operations, keep city government going. We would have to resolve the court need for that time while this building was being renovated, but we assume that that could get coordinated with the courts, and it appears that it could unfold without a major disruption to city services.
Thank you.
Further questions or comments?
Though, with the current facilities you have, those kind of movement, or you'd be used to that sort of thing. It ought not to bother y'all at all with the current facilities you have.
When it rains, we have to move.
Any further questions?
I guess, Mr. Mayor, the thing we need to look at, especially Alderman Perkins, myself, and Alderman Corey, is what we do next in the way of recommending back to the full board. Is that correct?
Yeah, and a logical next step would be for that committee to get together and map out how to operationalize the recommendation. And that's not the only way to do it, but I certainly think that makes sense. Any further questions or comments? Any further questions or comments? And what I'll do is I'll work to set up a meeting with the Municipal Facilities Committee, and hopefully by as early as the next meeting, perhaps the meeting after that, they'll be ready to report back with a plan of operation.
Is any motion necessary to disengage this committee from its responsibilities?
No, there's no motion necessary for that. And again, we appreciate the work of all of you.
Thank you very much. Thank you all. Thank you.
Is that everything? All right. The next matter on the agenda is the request for the approval of the City of Starkville claims docket as of April 28, 2011. Oh yeah, that's the fire department claims docket. Alderman Carver's going to recuse himself. Discussion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made by Alderman Vaughn to approve of the City of Starkville Fire Department claims docket as of April 28, 2011. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion been seconded by Alderman Corey. Alderman Vaughn, you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. And that will conclude the open session portion of our agenda. We do have a couple of matters that potentially need to be discussed in a closed session to determine whether there is a need to move into an executive session. And these are two somewhat late-breaking matters that have been spotted on the radar of the city attorney. He would like to have a discussion with the board about both of these matters. One is a potential litigation matter, and one is a pending litigation matter. Do I hear a motion to move into a closed session?
Mayor, move into a closed session to discuss the need for executive session.
Alderman Corey has made a motion to move into a closed session to determine whether there's a need to move into executive session. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Dumas. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes.
The passage of time. We have shared your joy at the birth of your children, and proudly we have watched them grow. We've taken care of your healthcare needs during the good times and the not so good. Your parents and grandparents have depended upon us. Together we have shared the struggles and the wonders of life. At Oktibbeha County Hospital, we are celebrating 30 years of being your lifelong choice in healthcare.